Food. It is as essential as air is to breathe and water is to drink. Food is life. But where does our food come from? The Bahamas has more than 2,000 farmers, but it's hardly enough to keep up with our growing population. Or is it? We travel the nation to find out the answers to the questions everyone is asking. Can we grow enough fruit and vegetables? Can we raise enough sheep, goat, and chickens? Can we catch enough fish to feed a country with almost 400,000 people? Keep watching as we find out from the people who make it happen. Can we feed ourselves? This is BAMSI, the nation's answer to higher education on all things farming and marine science. For more than 4 years, the institution has been ground zero in the fight toward food security, an idea formed in the mind of one prime minister. BAMSI is an institution all sides agree is vital to our national development. From a shaky start to a bright and promising future, this is a Can We Feed Ourselves special report on the purpose, people, and promise that is BAMSI.
Okay, good morning to you all. I would like to welcome you all to the first day of classes, the beginning of history here at BAMSI. And for that, we are truly grateful and truly blessed. The country should be very proud that this bold initiative has come to fruition. So I invite all of you to come and grow with us.
That was the first day of classes for BAMSI. This is the campus and demonstration farm on Andros today. A lot has changed since those first classes in the Western Air Terminal at the San Andres Airport. These days, students and researchers are taking advantage of the opportunity envisioned when BAMSI was still on the drawing boards. Principles and techniques gleaned in the classroom, supported and enhanced by practical teaching in the field. It's a formula modeled on the colleges around the world that focus on agricultural science. For BAMSI, as a Bahamian institution, there was even more emphasis on engaging the minds of degree hopefuls with the best talent available to teach the latest approaches to farming and marine science. BAMSI's executive director and principal is Dr. Ravina Roberts-Hanna.
What is BAMSI? BAMSI, the school, we're able to marry the academics with the skills. Because at the end of the day, agriculture in particular is an applied science. So our students are able to do something on day one and from day one. And we're very proud of that. So their learning environment is very experiential. It's hands-on, it's practical, it's academic, and our students are really second to none. They're able to hold their own in any avenue that they find themselves in.
For Dr. Roberts-Hanna, there was no other option for BAMSI than to hit the ground running even while the physical structure was still being built. For BAMSI to stand out, it had to be different.
BAMSI really is the impetus for change. Since the establishment of BAMSI, Bahamians have now began the discussion, the much needed discussion of talking about food security, food nutrition. They're now going to the stores and really looking at the labels, wondering what is this exactly? And so that's good. So we've started the discussion. But again, it's a multi-pronged approach that BAMSI is taking. So the school part is through education and training, and that underpins the entire operation, because it's important that we train the next cohort of agripreneurs, as I like to call it, that will really take us to the next level. We also we have a distribution center where you can buy all things Bahamian, including the BAMSI products. We also have an Associated Farmers program where we provide technical information and input to local farmers to really get them to the necessary standard to take their product to market.
So currently we have access to 800 acres of land, and part of the land space is divided, as you can see to my right, with our livestock section. Currently on the farm, the livestock farm, we are running a small ruminant program. We have sheep and goats. So we started with a little over 100 sheep and goats, and now we have just over 600 animals. And so again, the farm is a research and demonstration farm. And so what we're doing, we're running a breeding program where we're finding the correct and the right stock of sheep and goats, and we're then able to transfer them to the different farmers on the various islands.
There are no high school certificates for agricultural science in the Bahamas school system. No BJCs or BGCSEs. For the team at BAMSI, this forced them to concentrate more intense knowledge and training on students coming into the institution.
What we really try to do is to let our students know that there's more to agriculture than just being a farmer. Yes, a farmer is one of the focal points, but we also need soil scientists, we need food chemists, we need post-harvest technologists. And these are what we are offering our students, letting them see the different options that are available, and so that they're able to really take this to the next level. And so we have students from all walks of life. We have students who are fresh out of high school. We have some who've already done a degree. We have some who have many years as a farmer. So again, all of that increases the diversity in our classroom and really help create a good learning environment.
Here we have a bag here where our students went into the farm to collect soil samples. So what we were demonstrating is how to properly label the sample if you are going to send it into a lab for somebody to do the analysis.
Being the only institute of higher learning of its kind in the Bahamas has given BAMSI a unique way to study the soil quality of the islands of the archipelago. Students collect samples and are trained in how to identify the composition of the soil and what's the best approach to making it farm ready. Practical training is a constant on the campus. But make no mistake, BAMSI students are bona fide college students with a full load of academic courses each semester. It's a 360-degree approach that makes their farming work solid. Carla Melbourne is one of those students.
All right, this is my project on peppers. Now, one of the problems that most farmers have with planting peppers is that they get a pepper weevil. So my project is on different ways to stop the pepper weevil or prevent it from infesting plants. One of it is the screen method, so I did a lot of mini screens to put over some of the plants. Another one with 2 different types of pesticides, and one was the control to see what was the difference and how best to prevent the plants from getting infested with the pepper weevil.
This married mother of 3 packed up her family and moved to North Andros to pursue a degree at BAMSI.
The main reason was because I wanted to learn how to grow my own food. Because I'm a vegetarian, a lot of the things that I love to eat was just too expensive in the food store. So learning how to grow them would not only cut the cost for me, but also provide food for myself and others around me, mainly my family.
2 years later, and direct exposure to what's possible and lacking in Bahamian farming has given Carla a new perspective.
I wanted to do farming, to become a farmer, but now seeing the lack of education when it comes to people actually knowing what agriculture is all about, I now would like to pursue a career in teaching. I would like to teach it now.
Cordia and Cordelia Colebrook are identical twins. They didn't have to travel far to get to BAMSI. The sisters hail from Red Bay's Andros and say their interest in farming is a matter of helping their community reduce the dependence on imported food, especially produce. They want Bahamians to have healthier, locally grown options.
Because if this money would stay into our country, we will be able to improve our communities by building more buildings, roads, create jobs, and we will be able to feed ourselves. First of all, because if you buy local, you eat fresh.
Even though the sisters come from an historic farming community, their love for farming and their desire to make a difference was nurtured by Rye Purdue at the Huntley Christie High School in North Andros. They say this gave them a big head start, and coming to BAMSI was an easy choice.
Because we had the basic knowledge from our former teacher, Mr. Rye Purdue, we were able to apply our knowledge from there and impart it on to BAMSI.
Former Minister of Agriculture and Marine Resources Tennyson Wells is the new president and chairman of BAMSI. He feels BAMSI offers young Bahamians an unbeatable option.
When I was minister in agriculture, we probably was producing around about maybe 10-15% of consumption. Today, we produce about 8%. Agriculture went backwards in the last 20-25 years.
What caused that?
Well, you got to have a commitment, and to Mr. Christie's credit, in putting BAMSI, promoting BAMSI, I think he saw the decline and thought that this was a way to do it, and I think he was correct. If you don't get people believing that they can make a living, they could live comfortably, they could educate the children, they could go on vacation every year and, live in air-conditioned house and stuff like that from farming. It's difficult to encourage people to do it. But if they do it scientifically, those things are axiomatic, really. I mean, it'll be done, they will be people in the hotels, who work in the hotels, who work in the banks here and middle management, cannot compete with the income of a successful farmer. If he had 5 acres of land and he deal with it scientifically, the people in the banks and the public service, people like yourselves who work in the public service, cannot compete with them on an income basis.
My name is Romeo Josie, and I'm from Exuma. My dream, agritourism. I envision owning and operating my business on the islands of my heritage with having people visit. I want them to come and stay where they can get exotic fruits. I've had this dream since I was first introduced to the subject at BAMSI. What I learned at BAMSI was how to marry the science of agriculture and the art of agriculture. Learning at BAMSI takes place in the classroom, but it also happens in the field. BAMSI is so important for the Bahamas because it helps the young generation to understand how important agriculture is to this country. BAMSI is also helping us to realize the vision of our forefathers, as this country can be great and have an awesome economy through diversification in agriculture and marine. Now I have a role to play in the future of farming in the Bahamas. BAMSI is definitely changing lives for a stronger Bahamas.
Good morning, Ms. Bars, how are you? Can you check to see if this check is ready for this person for the AFP for me? This farmer?
Paul Major Jr. is one of the first students to enroll at BAMSI.
My first semester was very interesting. I got to meet a lot of other students from other islands, a lot of personalities. The conditions may be different from a regular college campus, but I can say I learned a lot. I have a great appreciation for agriculture science, as I did hospitality studies and hotel training at CUB, so I loved it basically.
I'm an agricultural development officer here at BAMSI, and I'm also assistant to director of the Associated Farmers Program. I work in corporate office, and I work closely with farmers as it relates to starting their own farm business, whether it be commercial or urban farming. How that works is you basically bring in your farmer's license, business license, which is, I guess, tailored around if it's a home base or it's commercial. and also your land papers or manager's letter from the executor of the land. So you bring those into me, I'll evaluate the documents, and then I'll assess it along with the contractor, the director, who will then call in the farmer to further process them, and then we do a farm assessment. This farm assessment serves as the purpose for seeing what inputs are needed, because through BAMSI's Associated Farmers Program, we provide up to $5,000 worth of inputs for the farmer as it relates to seedlings, irrigation systems, fertilizer, as well as we'll assist you through the Bahamas development buying up to $10,000. So basically that's what I do.
Major graduated in the very first class at BAMSI in 2016. The decision to go to BAMSI was long in the making for him.
So one of my good friends, who's a lecturer at CUB, she got me involved with AICA and BAFI, which is the youth forum for our culture, and she said, well, Paul, try your hand at BAMSI and let's give it a shot.
It was humbling for Major to give up on his well-paying job and go back to school. The makeshift classrooms and being on another island among students younger than him eventually led to this.
Topping the news, the first graduates from the Bahamas Agriculture and Marine Science Institute, BAMSI, got their certificates today.
The pride-filled moment representing a major step towards protecting food safety for Bahamians while building the island of Andros.
The joy of being among the first graduates of BAMSI never gets old to Major. It was a case of unfinished business. These days, he's helping other farmers realize their dreams from the administrative side of the business.
I graduated in 2000 from City Bethel, and I looked at the high school transcript, and I said, well, Paul, you've tried everything. You've worked for American Eagle, you've worked for the police force, you've worked for this organization, the next organization, and where do you really fit in? What is your gift? And I looked at my high school transcript and it said to obtain a degree in agricultural science. And here I am today, one of the first graduates of BAMSI. I've completed that. And to go further, I'm now working at a corporate office.
So BAMSI is not here to compete with local farmers, but we're really here to provide the necessary technical support to them. We're also here to help facilitate their growth and their development as well. So again, through the school, we offer short courses, we offer training programs that can actually assist and give them that cutting edge technology that is much needed. Our graduates, some of our graduates have gone on to become agriculture officers and extension officers, especially in the southern islands where it's badly needed. And so they are that point person to that farmer on those islands for that technical support and assistance.
Paul says he has no regrets about the life-altering decision he made to follow his calling. He wants to do other things in life, but he's deeply committed to advancing our ability to feed ourselves. He says he owes it all to that fateful decision he made to be among the first to enroll in BAMSI.
Coming into the institute to apply for the scholarship for BAMSI, my transcript was what I guess was a promise to myself that I would obtain a degree in agriculture. Sitting down with Dr. Hanna in an interview as the restaurant operations manager for George Myers at Burger King, making a very good salary every week with a pension plan and everything. Dr. Enos and Dr. Hanna said, Mr. Major, are you prepared to resign your job to come and study for 2 years at BAMSI and not receive a salary? I said, yes, I am prepared. I said, I believe that agriculture is the way to go, and this is something that should have been done. When I first graduated from CB Bethel as a top graduate in agronomy and animal husbandry, there's no BGCSE as it relates to agriculture in the Bahamas. So I was at a disadvantage trying to get into CUB to study agriculture when I didn't have the qualifications at the time to do that. Upon completing the degree, I don't have any regrets. There were many times while I was in Andros studying, I would look at my account and say, boy, I miss that salary coming in every week. You know, but I now see the fruitfulness of what I did, the sacrifice of what I made. This is real. The country needs to understand we have to be able to feed ourselves. And in order for you to believe in what we're doing, we have to believe in ourselves. And I believed in myself enough to come in and make the sacrifice And I did it for 2 years. I got a degree to COB, that's right, as one of the first graduates of BAMSI. I got a degree to COB. I'm continuing my education now at COB where I'm a law student. And again, there are no regrets. I've done all this through BAMSI.
Ty Sands graduated in that very first class at BAMSI too. And, like Major, he works for BAMSI's corporate office in Nassau, doing animal research and helping sheep and goat farmers with their animals. He says BAMSI prepared him well.
Even if you do not want to work, let's say, in a corporate office, BAMSI will engineer you, or will design you to be an entrepreneur. They have courses in agribusiness, which designs young individuals into entrepreneurship. So even if BAMSI is just not isn't one-dimensional.
Sands is working hard, researching the agreeable breeds of sheep and goat suitable for the Bahamas.
BAMSI has gravitated to animals that do well in the tropical countries. So that's more like your hair animals instead of wool, to prevent animals from overheating. And now it's like 90 degrees. So we look at animals that are tolerant in these type of climate. Also, we look at feed. Feed is one of the most important parts of agriculture, because if you can't feed the animals, there is no use in maintaining your animals. So we look at feeds that also acclimatized to the Bahamas, feed that is high in protein, has high tolerance for heat, drought, if necessary.
According to Sands, the way he was trained at BAMSI was ideal for the job he now holds, working on animal husbandry.
Agriculture in the Bahamas is it isn't new, but the industry is at a low right now. So being on the farm, you get to see it live, face to face. But then again, you know that there is research that needs to be done in the Bahamas. And so, as working on the farm, I got the two. I got the two from the veterinarian and working on the farm. So he gave a little bit of research and we tied the two.
The entire concept of BAMSI is built around one of balance. Balance between classroom teaching and practical farming knowledge. Balance between science and skill. This balance carries over into the overall operations of BAMSI, from the field to the store.
I think that BAMSI will survive if it, in the tutorial farm and the sort of commercial farm that because they have the land to do it, the 800 acres of land, if they use that wisely and make it productive, BAMSI will become a self-sufficient institution, independent of the government.
BAMSI operates a distribution center on East Bay Street, although BAMSI produce is sold nationwide. The distribution center was designed to create an opportunity for farmers to get their goods directly into the market.
Thank you for shopping with BAMSI. It's going to be sweet. You're going to love it. You're going to come back in the morning.
This approach was designed to put money directly into the pockets of farmers.
Through our distribution center, we're also able to sell local farmers' produce. So again, BAMSI is here to really facilitate the necessary change that is needed to take agriculture to the next level.
Chairman Wells feels that for farming to be more commercially viable, other private outlets are critical.
If BAMSI could teach these farmers that instead of, when you grow an acre of tomatoes, instead of getting 500 cases, you get 1,500 cases by following the right techniques and the science of it. And when that farmer was getting maybe $5,000 out of that acre a year, he now getting $15,000 or $20,000. It's a whole new ball game. And that is the value of BAMSI, but it has to be done in association with the private sector. The government is never going to do it.
My experience at BAMSI has been, I would say, second to none. You know, we get to learn about what really happens in the ocean, you know, the largest part of our country. We need to care for our marine resources, and marine science taught to me by BAMSI could help me to, or could help all of us to manage those resources. BAMSI has taught me how to be sustainable, how to care for the environment. I believe that BAMSI will have such a positive impact in years to come that people will look back and say, wow, not just in food security, but sustainability in general, managing our resources. This is one of the only institutions in the world that marries both agriculture and marine science. You can learn by Bahamians about the Bahamas, your country, and really learn how to give back. I believe that BAMSI will help the country to move forward.
BAMSI also has an outreach program where we go into the schools and we actually speak with the students. We allow them to come to our open houses so that they can actually see agriculture in action. So it's not just about the big cutlass and the big hat sweating out there in the fields, but it is so much more. I am a post-harvest technologist. I never was in the field, actually, but I'm a part of agriculture. So again, we're trying to let students know that there is so much more to it, so much unexplored opportunities that await. And again, it's not for those who are slow or behaviorally challenged, but we have a place for them as well because they too can learn a skill. But we want the bright, we want the best, we want those who are academically inclined. And because agriculture, again, we're looking for scientists, we're looking for that food technologist, we need that soil scientist, that food chemist. These are open opportunities that await.
I think they have done a good job in selling BAMSI to the public. So I think it's the perception that they had of BAMSI over the last 2 or 3 years is now changing in a more positive direction. Because people believe, a lot of people you talk to now believe that it will be successful. And I have no doubt, I think it will be successful.
Police are on the scene trying to deal with the blaze and put the blaze out. We're told it's only in one building, which we believe is one of the main buildings.
A dormitory at BAMSI burned.
This comes as a major blow to the Bahamas agriculture marine scientists.
I'm standing outside the male dormitory here at BAMSI, and as you can see, the building has been completely destroyed by fire. Now, officials have yet to determine the exact cause of the blaze.
The fire and all of the political wrangling heading into an election year took a toll on the public's view of the Institute. With the election behind us and 2 more classes of graduates, the stain on BAMSI's reputation has definitely faded.
People lose confidence and faith and hope on everything. Go with it now. When the new board took over this year, we had, I think, around about 40 students, right? And my discussions and encouragement to Dr. Hanu, I think, is going to serve BAMSI very, very well, very, very good. And she has the passion for it, as Dr. Hannah. With our encouragement, I think we should have probably approaching 100 students or more in September when we open. I was trying to get all of those buildings, the administration building, the cafeteria, the female dorm, the cluster classrooms, all ready for September. So we may be a couple of weeks off or maybe a month off, but they're going to be finished this year, God's willing. And that could change the whole character. So we have in summer classes now in BAMSI going on now. And recruitment, we have been in touch with, I think, about 12 high schools, and we can set up programs in the high schools in the next year, apart from the training of the laborers and teaching them. We can have that in the high schools, so the recruitment program will develop. I mean, the goal is to have within the next, I would say, 3 or 4 years, at least maybe 200 or 300 students in there, in that program. And if people see the success of the graduates that come out from there, then more and more people will move in.
Member of Parliament for North Andros and the Berry Islands, Carlton Bowleg, also spoke today, noting that the Bahamas Agriculture and Marine Science Institute, BAMSI, will experience transformation as it reshapes to become more effective. The Member of Parliament also noted that BAMSI, with nearly 300 students enrolled, will attract its largest cohort of 100 students in the fall.
We also expect to enroll for the first time. For the first time, Mr. Speaker, international student during the upcoming academic year, which will further the support legitimacy of the academic institution, establishing it as a credible institution within the field of education.
The Colebrook twins and 3 other students are now among the ranks of BAMSI graduates. This fall, the school will enroll its first international student and will have more than 100 students attending classes. Carla Melbourne graduated as the class's valedictorian and plans to pursue her dreams of teaching at BAMSI. In early 2018, the second cohort of students graduated from BAMSI. Unique in this group were the mother and son team of Valinda and LaRon Roll. The younger Roll was valedictorian and has gone on to work with the Bahamas National Trust with their Marine Wardens team. For both roles, the absence of a certificate in agriculture in the government school system and the near absence of classes at the primary school level is the root of our problem.
I believe firmly, being a former preschool operator, that it should begin from the babies, from the preschoolers, that they can learn to the importance of planting and can do their part in raising little tiny crops so that they grow with this feeling of agriculture, the importance of it and the enjoyment of it. Because children do not see it as a task, but as pleasure, something they would love to do. So it should be introduced throughout all of our school curriculums, from preschool all the way up to college level.
BAMSI is working hard to bridge the gap through its student outreach programs and the activities of its 4-H club.
With peppers, do you know what part do we eat from the peppers?
Because you guys did this before, right? You guys harvested the lettuce and you ate them before, right?
So we have a 4-H collegiate arm program here at BAMSI. And so what we've done, we've adopted 2 schools, the Master Point Primary School and the Stafford Creek Primary School. And our students are the student leaders who actually help them establish their farm on the school grounds, help them to maintain it. And so they've grown their vegetables from seed to supper, hence the term soil to supper. And what they did, they actually cooked their produce so that the students can understand that food does not necessarily and only comes from the food store, but it actually starts in the ground and has to be nurtured to get onto your plate. And they really had a greater appreciation for what they eat and a greater appreciation for healthy eating and healthy lifestyles.
For the students, the programs they've started at 2 schools in Andros is a way of making up for what was missing from their early education. Teaching primary school students the basics of farming is a way of paying it forward, and that's not lost on the BAMSI students.
We were just helping the kids to make the connection between food, the food industry, and what they eat, and everything they eat. Everything boils down to it had to be grown somewhere, it had to be grown on a farm. So kids had a chance to experience growing their own food, the entire process getting it to the plate.
I am happy I participate in the Soil to Supper program so that I will be able to make a supper from things I planted in the soil.
The end of the program, which was the supper, where we were able to have lunch. Persons were invited from the community.
And I got to see what they did for the whole program, what they learned, the different lessons we taught. Yeah. And hopefully encourage them to eat a little healthier.
It went well. So we went from soil to supper. In between, the students would learn seeds, sun, photosynthesis, showers, rainfall, supper, which we had as stir fry. So we took the crops from the gardens, not necessarily theirs, but the same crops, and put them together and made stir fry. So they had a vegan meal, and they ate it. So there was a way of the students eating their veggies. But we won't tell them there wasn't any chicken or meat in it. But it went well. There were challenges, mind you, there were challenges. But that was for our students, part of the management process, to work out those challenges and still hit that deadline.
I think, again, BAMSI is well on that way. Like I said, our discussion has started. We're shifting the minds through our various educational programs. We're working with the young people, the primary school students. We're also working with other non-profit organizations, again tying into and getting people to buy into the idea of healthy eating and producing your own food, so that the average Bahamian can now have access to healthy foods, healthy vegetables, healthy fruits. So again, we also here in Andros, we worked with the local primary schools where we provide them as a part of their lunch program with bananas. And many of them, sometimes it's the first that they've even eaten it because they really couldn't afford to buy fruit and vegetable. And so again, it's this whole idea of sharing and doing an integrated approach to this one problem of food security and food and access to healthy, nutritious food. And I think BAMSI is well on the way.
My experience at BAMSI has been, I would say, second to none. You know, we get to learn about what really happens in the ocean, you know, the largest part of our country. We need to care for our marine resources, and marine science taught to me by BAMSI could help me to, or could help all of us to manage those resources. BAMSI has taught me how to be sustainable, you know, how to care for the environment. I believe that BAMSI will have such a positive impact in years to come that people will look back and say, wow, not just in food security, but sustainability in general, you know, managing our resources. This is one of the only institutions in the world that marries both agriculture and marine science. You can learn by Bahamians about the Bahamas, your country, and really learn how to give back. I believe that BAMSI will help the country to move forward.
The farming islands of the Bahamas present a unique opportunity for agricultural researchers at BAMSI. A big part of their mission is to collect a farming profile of every island in the nation.
Again, the archipelagic nature of the Bahamas really lends itself well, really, to agriculture, because each island is unique based on its topography alone. And so what can be grown on one island may not necessarily be able to grow successfully on another. And so through the research that is done at BAMSI, we're able to figure out and determine exactly what grows well on each island. And so we have data coming in. Our students as well are a part of that and fully integrated in all aspects of BAMSI. Our students actually go home and they bring information. They bring the soil samples for us to test so that we can determine what's the best soil type for which crop that we want to do. Also, we're teaching our students that variety, the different variety is very important. You don't necessarily need a huge farm to actually get great yield, but look at the different variety, and it's how efficient you use the space that you have. Pothole farming is very unique to the Bahamas. So we're looking at how best we can capitalize on that and really try to retain some of our indigenous culture that we've done. So we incorporate all of those things into a learning environment. And again, the different discussions from the different students from the different islands also bode well to really getting this information and knowledge across. Also, we have our extension officers who are placed on the various family islands, and they too are generating necessary data that feeds into us here at the school, where we're able to assess and to really analyze and to get that to get the right stock. The farm that we have is a research and demonstration farm. So what does it mean? It means that all that we're growing, they're research. We're trying to figure out what is the best climate. Do we do microclimate testing? What's the best sheep and goat variety that can be grown elsewhere? And so these are the things that we're doing.
But I came in February, they had probably about maybe 50 acres of land, really in very poor shape, not being upkept, and extending that hopefully to grow year-round crops. We have planted some additional, we can double, like the banana production, from 30 acres to probably about 100 acres between now and this time next year, right? We're going to have acreage of tomatoes, pawpaws, sweet peppers, the root crops, sweet potatoes, cassavas, all of these things, and we can grow them year-round.
Bananas are one of the crops BAMSI is researching intensely. Their research is already being shared with farmers throughout the country, and it's yielding positive results.
When people harvest in their own farms, they normally used to leave the bunch or the leaves on the tree.
Michelle Hinsey works the banana fields, collecting and sharing knowledge as she goes.
Here at BAMSI, we do a process of harvesting bananas. We do a process of sleeving, deleafing, pruning. This is the technique here. This bunch of bananas in the process of harvest. This will be harvested by next week. This aging is this little tag you'll see here. We call it aging. We normally age it to know the maturity of the bunch. So this will be aged, let's say, in this bunch will be now 3 months old. So by next week we'll be harvesting this bunch for harvest. The process of the bide is because protected from dust, flea, and insects. It has a chemical on it that keeps it, and it also protects it from scars and stuff. We keep the scars and everything off away from the bananas. So the sleeves go on as we age. So we go through the field and we look for new shoots in the field.
Like the banana operations, BAMSI is also banking heavily on its investment in aquaponics.
The hydroponic farm, we could double really quadruple the production of lettuce and celery and these things. I mean, you saw what we were doing with the hydroponics. I just signed off for what they call race base, where they grow the water, where they have the water circulating and growing these plants basically in water. And that is, I would say in the last 2 or 3 months, we have more than doubled that. When these other raceways come on, I think when we went there was about 5 or 6. We now have about 16 or 17, I think. We will quadruple that within the next year. So basically all of your lettuce and things like celery and those grains will be grown here. I mean by the thousands on a weekly basis.
We have a hydroponic operation going on where we put the fertilizer in the tanks and they actually feed the plants. This system here is known as a floating rafter system, where we actually put seeds in net pots. It actually has a styrofoam, a little cotton material. We press the seeds in, rest them in the net pots, and place them back in the water. The duration between dropping the seeds and actually harvesting is like anywhere between 4 to 6 weeks. Right now we're currently growing about 6 different species of lettuce. Tropicana, Ridgeline, Jericho, Red Fire, La Rosa, and we also grow basil, Swiss chard, and some kale. Most of the kale we're growing on the outside garden.
The extension into heavy research doesn't stop with just crops. BAMSI is leading the way in livestock research with some very serious outside help.
So this is where we have our breeding females, and this is where they give birth. So here we feed specialized diets high in energy because these animals are all lactating.
Dr. Michelle Singh is the country's representative for the Caribbean Agriculture Research and Development Institute, CARDI. CARDI is a regional research institute that works to provide technical and research support to agriculture ministries in the region. With the decline in animal protein production throughout the country, due in part to the recent hurricanes, CARDI's work here is critical to BAMSI's goal of reviving the stock and introducing new breeds to our islands. Dr. Singh is an animal scientist with more than 15 years teaching animal production, livestock science, meat processing, and product development. She's also an adjunct lecturer at BAMSI. According to Dr. Singh, the question of can we feed ourselves is not something that can be simplified into one answer.
Since I've been here, I've realized that the Bahamas needs to take this food security one step at a time, and I'd even go so far to say as one island at a time, because each island has unique environments and unique needs. And if we look at it and we disaggregate the agriculture sector and we look at what is utilized on each island, it's going to be a whole lot easier to direct production and research in those key areas.
She says the archipelagic nature of our country also presents an opportunity to do something unique in the region. We can feed ourselves, she says, but the capabilities vary from island to island, and that's where the research work being done at BAMSI is critical to any chance of success we may have.
Because we are a research and development institute, our new strategic plan focuses on 4 key areas, and one is commodity improvement, commodity development, and value chain analyses are what help actually direct the research into practical, implementable plans. So if we look at onions, onions is a big crop in the Bahamas. It's produced very easily. However, we've come to understand that post-harvest treatment of onions is a major obstacle. So that's one of the ways we'll be intervening, and that's how we operate in each of the countries, each of the 16 countries that are member states. The value chain analysis is critical to developing the sector.
And again, it's an exciting time to really be alive and an exciting time to be a Bahamian, because it's about time that we in the Bahamas are proactive rather than reactive. So we're really trying to prevent a terrible situation from happening. And again, BAMSI is that impetus for change. And so I encourage you and I encourage the rest of the Bahamas to really continue to support local, continue to support BAMSI, watch the space, and see how we're going to move and continue to grow forward.
Is food security at the level of, say, 50% of what we consume being grown and farmed and fished here achievable in the short term?
I would say, what do you mean by short term? In 5 to 10 years, I don't see that being a problem for the Bahamas. But it is going to take policy. It is going to have to come from a policy standpoint where we provide support to farmers, incentives to the agriculture sector. Teaching and training is critical. The agriculture education has to be improved.
But I think we're able to do it. I think through various incentives as well for the young person, the young agripreneur who really wants to farm. I think that the government is supporting them in those ventures, really to encourage and to really increase the amount of local farmers that we have. I do think that we can feed ourselves. Again, it comes with diversity, it comes through education and training, and all of these are available here at BAMSI.
Can we feed ourselves? Is that...
Well, I don't think any country feed itself, say 100%. But I believe we could get up to 50-60% from the 8% that we now produce. This in the country today, the statistics show that we produce 8% of what we consume in agricultural products, agricultural marine products, right? Now, I think in the course of the next maybe 5 to 10 years, we can move that up to probably around 50–60%.
The BAMSI story is far from being told. In fact, we're just in the first few pages of what may well become an epic saga of how a nation less than 50 years old was able to build its capacity to feed itself from the ground up. The common goal of everyone we encountered at BAMSI is to see our farmers educated and our farms reach their full potential while using the most up-to-date methods available. The Institute will continue to grow into its potential with more classrooms set to open this fall and even bigger plans for the years to come. BAMSI has grown well beyond a political promise fulfilled and is now a national institution with universal support. This means the future of the school and the corporation is assured, and its role as the linchpin in Bahamian food security undeniable.